Hi guys, this is JP from FSI Panel. On that video I will show you how to fly an approach starting from a star. Sometimes I have report that the aircraft is not descending using VNAV, so I will show you why it doesn't descend, and we will fly a star arrival, go around, and then we will do a VOR approach, and I will show you as well the trap for the VNAV programmation on your FMC. So let's go into the cockpit. We are flying today out of Bremen, Germany, and as always when I start my 737 I will choose the weight that I want to train. You can do that directly from FSI Panel or you can do it from here. So for me I will just do it from there with 5 tons of fuel. I have now a zero fuel weight of 62.7, so I'm above max landing weight. So let's change the payload to something like 56 tons. So now I have my aircraft at 61 tons, which is a nice training weight. That's the only thing I need to do. Of course, you could do it directly from FSI Panel. So let me show you what we want to do today. As you can see now on your screen, we are trying to do the ILS Yankee runway 27 in Bremen. And we will try to program our arrival from Vered, initial approach fix that you can see on the southeast of the airport. And we will position ourselves at 6,000 feet, around 8 miles from Vered. And then from there we will fly inbound on this routing, this transition route to the ILS 27, and I will show you how to program the FMC so that the aircraft descend in VNAV. So let's start by programming that waypoint in FSI Panel. Alright, I just started FSI Panel. So the easiest way to do and to program that waypoint is to see if it exists in any of the star. If it doesn't exist, then we can create a pilot waypoint, and I will show you that on the next video, which is how to fly a RNP or AirNav approach. Then we will create a waypoint. So if you want to see that video, the link will be at the end of that video. So now what we will do, if you look again on the chart, we want to create that arrival from position Vered. We will put ourselves around 6 miles south of Vered, and then we will fly that transition. So let's go into FSI Panel, select fix. We will select a star, and you can click on any star. What is important there is to find the waypoint Vered. Once you have the waypoint Vered, I selected it, and now you have the inbound heading. So if we look again into our chart, what will be a nice heading is probably heading 340, right? So we're gonna have a straight line to go on 340. So the heading we will set 340, and we will put an altitude as before, as we said before, 6,000 feet. We have to beat minimum 5,000, maximum flight level 80. So let's put 6,000 feet. And finally an offset, we said we will put ourselves around 8 miles south of it. So here in FSI Panel, I will choose the heading at 340. Then the altitude at 6,000 feet, and finally the offset, we said we want to be 8 miles, and that is it. Now we are ready to go. So I'll click validate, and I will click on move aircraft, and we go in our cockpit. As always, do not touch anything when FSI Panel is doing the job. We will go in the air, and once it's ready I will show you how to program your FMC. So as a reminder, FSI Panel will not set always your FMC. It will set ILSs if available. It will not set any FMC if you select a star. So right now, as we are selecting a star, the FMC is your responsibility. All right, so we leave some time for FSI Panel to finish now the setup. As you can see, initial setup of the FMC on the first officer FMC. And we should be ready anytime soon. The good thing is that the aircraft will be in position freeze. So we have plenty of times once you get the message that you can take control to program anything you need for your approach. All right, so alt acquired, 6,000 feet. I will just acknowledge the ATC, otherwise the lady will be pissed against us. Here we go. Alt acquired, and now I'm expecting FSI Panel to give me the control. So if you look on the instructions, I will get the control anytime soon. Here we go. Hold your brake for 3 seconds to take control. And now we can do anything we need. So the first thing we will do is to program our FMC. All right, so let me bring the chart and we can do that FMC setup. So I will go departure arrival. I have already the airport, so I will select arrival. The first thing to do is to select the approach. So for us, as you can see, is the ILS Yankee runway 27. So it's selected. I don't need, and the transition, sorry, is via position VERED. So next page, I find VERED. That is my transition. And now if I go to next page, if the flight plan is not activated, I just activate and execute. All right, now we can see that VERED, if I put it on top as a direct to, should be 8 miles in front of us. This is exactly what we program with FSI Panel, right? We have the altitude restrictions between 5,000 and 8,000. That's perfect. And then we have the next altitude there, which is 1900 or above. As you can see on the chart, the green box that I highlighted, this is when we will start our final descent to the runway. All right, so now the FMC initial part is set. I will make sure that I have my approach speed, and we could set our minimum as well. So for this approach, the minimum is 214. So at that stage, I could do 214 in the barrow. 214, and that's it. So now, if I press LNAV, we're expecting to see LNAV captured. The aircraft will fly to VERED. And now the issue we have, some pilots are reporting that to me. What happened? I cannot arm VNAV. VNAV is not working. The aircraft is not descending. All right. What does the 737 needs to start a descent? It needs to have references. Now it knows that the final descent point is runway 27. That's very nice. But what it doesn't know, is what is my actual altitude. So it needs to know what is your altitude right now, and you will end up at runway 27, and therefore it will compute the descent path. So if I go progress page, you can see that I have no information there on that line. It's all blank, and I don't have a top of descent on my map display. So how to fix that? You just go to cruise page, and cruise altitude, we will match our actual altitude, 6,000 feet. So I'll put 6,000 feet right there. Okay, now you see that the target speed is 250 knots. That's a bit too much as we are close to the airport. Let's say we want to fly 220 knots. So on the real aircraft, you can put 220 right now. On the PMDG, it doesn't work, unfortunately. But I found a workaround. Just click on economic, then you get the speed there, and now you can set the speed that you would like. So 220, that's what I would like to fly. So now, as I said 220, I will just match my 220 right there. So the aircraft will accelerate. And we are good. If I execute now, you can see on the progress page that we have a top of descent in 4 miles. Perfect. So now we know that the aircraft will start descent. We have a top of descent. So now I can go ahead and fly that approach. The only thing I need to do is to set my ILS frequency, if not done by FSI Panel. It's already done. My inbound course 266, that should be good as well. And from now on, we are ready to take over the control. So let me take the control, remove the ILS chart from there, and let's see what happened now if I arm LNAV and VNAV. So if I arm LNAV, I have LNAV captured. If I have VNAV, now I get this very nice VNAV path. This is what we want to see. If you don't see VNAV path, the aircraft will never descend. So this is very important to see VNAV path. Now we get a message from the FMC, reset MCP altitude. So now the FMC has computed that we need to descend. So we have to give the right to the autopilot to descend. So I need to select a lower altitude. If I don't select a lower altitude by top of descent, this VNAV path will become VNAV alt, and now the aircraft will not descend anymore. I will have to use vertical speed level change, catch the profile, and then descend. So let's give the authority to the autopilot to descend now. So I will set the next altitude, which you can check there, 1900 or above. This is where we're going to intercept our final descent. So I will set 1900 feet. And now you can see VNAV path, top of descent, the aircraft starts descending. Now you can see as well a point which is quite interesting. It's the decel point. So the decel point is the point where your aircraft will start to reduce the speed, as you can see now, to let you put some flaps. So if you don't want to make extensive calculation and you trust your VNAV like me, very easy, just let it do it. Now it's reducing the speed to 220 because that's the speed that we want. So you will see that the speed is reducing to 220 knots. And then you can see another decel point right there. This is where we have to bring some flaps. So let's see how that works on that nice arrival. So right now we're expecting the speed to stop at 220 knots. Let's see if that works. And from 220 knots, we will fly inbound and we should get a further reduction approaching this decel point where now the aircraft wants us to put some flaps. So if you trust your aircraft and you have done the correct setting, now you can relax and enjoy the show. You can see that we are on the profile. Something that you can see as well there, this is your vertical path deviation, plus 400, minus 400, then it shows right now we are 50 feet above the ideal path. So if you get out of tolerance, make sure you correct it right away. All right, so aircraft is descending, all good. You can see that we are in arm. It means the auto throttle has reduced the thrust to idle. And now if the speed becomes too low, the auto throttle will kick in and bring back the speed to 220 knots. So right now we are gliding perfectly well. Everything looks good. And when do we have to start adding some drag, some flaps? Well, at the decel point. So we will see that anytime soon as we are reaching the decel point. You will see that it works pretty well normally. So let's have a look what's happening when we reach decel point. We're expecting 220 to slowly drop toward upspeed. So this is for you the signal that it's the right time to select flaps 1. So let's see that happening. I will zoom right there so you can have a proper view of what is happening as we are reaching decel. FMC speed, as you see, the speed is dropping below upspeed. So now the autopilot is commanding the speed to increase and we reach decel. So now that speed is basically going down to up. As you can see, it's going down slowly to up speed. So now the aircraft wants me to put flaps 1. So if I go flaps 1, which I just did, now you see that the commanded speed is now bug 1. Perfect. So I just follow with my heading bug and I will continue to slow down once we have flaps 1. So as easy as that. You can see flaps 1 right there, green light. All right, let's go flaps 5. You go flaps 5. And now you will see that the autopilot will command bug 5. Perfect, that's what we want. We are clear for the approach. I will arm the approach and I will put the second autopilot as we will go around. And I will do a proper go around to show you that as well. All right, so now easy. You can see as long as you're flying in VNAV, the window is blank. So when the window is blank, the autopilot is responsible via the FMC for the speed. If you change any vertical mode out of VNAV, if I select now vertical speed, the window will open. If I go back to VNAV path, the window is gone. I just make sure that my approach is still gone. We have Vorlock and glide slope is armed. All right, as you can see, everything looking good. I set my inbound heading 266. Here we go. And now at around 2000 feet, I will go gear down flaps 15 on an ILS approach. So make sure this page is set. Now you can see how well she flies down using LNAV and VNAV. Now we are in localizer, tracking the localizer, but still VNAV is going down to 1900 feet and the glide slope is armed. So usually at around 2000 feet, AGL, that's a good time to set gear down and flaps 15. So let's go gear down, set your speed, engine start switches to continuous, arm the speed brake, and finally when the gear is down, flaps 15. Now as we go flaps 15 and we are still in VNAV, the bug will go to 15 automatically. That's it. Now that the glide slope will be captured, look what's happening to my window right there. As the glide slope is coming, glide slope is captured, the window's open, so now I am responsible for the speed. And as soon as you see glide slope captured, don't forget to set your go around altitude. For that example, we will go 4,000 feet and I will show you why we are doing non-standard. In case of go around, we will just climb initially runway heading 4,000 feet. So 4,000 feet is set, and now I can go flaps 30 and do my landing checklist. So engine start switches are continuous, speed brake is arm, landing gear is down, and flaps 30, green light. I have to set my approach speed by myself, so that's 148. Good, so now we're on final, everything looks good, and we will do go around at around 500 feet. Then we will turn left, we'll go on downwind, and I will show you how we can fly a VOR approach on the same runway, setting up correctly the FMC so that you can use again LNAV and VNAV and have a correct descent. Why did I choose 4,000 feet for the go around? Simply because sometimes it happened by ATC, as you can see on the chart right now. 3,000 feet is the altitude at Rockbow to start the descent, but sometimes ATC bring you higher or lower and they clear you for VOR. So I will show you that with VNAV it is not an issue at all to do that. So this is why I've done that 4,000 feet go around. Alright, so let's continue down here. We will go around. So the go around sequence on the 737, we hit toga, go around, flaps 15 right away. Then we checked that the thrust is there. Then when we have a positive rate of climb, we bring the gear up. At 400 feet, we make sure that we have a lateral mode. 1,000 feet, we continue the acceleration, we retract the flaps. All right, so let's see that happening. We will do an automatic go around so everything can be done as smooth as it can be. All right, so let's go around. I hit toga. Right away, flaps 15. If the autopilot disconnect, I have to fly manually, so I'm flying manually. Positive rate, gear up. We are above 400 feet, so I can select my heading. Now I have a lateral mode, heading. 1,000 feet, I can go level change. And now I can go flaps 5, and I will engage the autopilot. So what we want to see now is N1 heading MCP speed. The aircraft is climbing toward 4,000 feet. We are flaps 5. Positive speed toward flaps 1, I can go flaps 1. Now I will set my speed to up speed or higher if you have no terrain. So in that case, let's go to 20 knots. Now I have flaps 1, good. I will go flaps up. 1,000 feet to level off, be careful because of the traffic around. So we have a lot of thrust on that aircraft. So the good thing to do is go vertical speed. 1,000 feet, so we avoid a TCAS right there. Flaps up, no light. We can do the after takeoff checklist. Here we go. Landing gear off and auto brake off. Perfect. All right, go around is done. We are at safe altitude. ATC will tell us to turn left on downwind, which is around heading 08886. So let's turn right, and now we will prepare the other approach that I want to show you. So 086, we are turning on the downwind, and now we need to set our arrival for this VOR approach. So let me bring the chart first for you. So this is what we want to do. So you see now that our altitude is 4,000 feet, while the VOR runway 27 in Bremen start at 3,000 feet. So ATC will give us very nice vectors to intercept the final track, but we have to descend as per the profile, and for that we need to program correctly our FMC. All right, so let's do that together with the FMC. So again, arrival, it's gonna be a VOR DME runway 27. We are not going to have any transition, so I can go legs page activate. Now what is important is to have Rockbow on top, but not a direct to rock bow. We want to have intercept heading. So the runway heading is 266. So I will set 266 and execute. Right now, if I look at on my screen, as you can see, I have rock bow. Sorry, you don't see it. In fact, right there, we should see it. We have rock bow and we have the extended center line right there. Now I make sure I have my speed. Good. And now we will just set on nav settings. So 117.45. That is what we want to have for the VOR. The track is 266 already set, and the minimum for this approach, as you can see, is 480. So we are just going to change that to 480. All right, so now we want to fly that VOR approach. So we are on downwind. And when can we turn to position rock bow? When do we start our descent? Now again, VNAV, if I go progress page, it is based on a cruise altitude, which may be 3,000 feet, 4,000 feet, we don't know. So every time you reset a non-precision approach on the 737, always make sure that you synchronize your VNAV if you plan to use it. If now you're only on vectors for an ILS approach, you don't need VNAV at all. You don't need to worry about the altitude in the cruise page. But now ATC tells us you expect a direct to rock bow and you will be clear for a VOR approach. So now we need to start our descent to reach rock bow at 3,000, and then we need to descend on the profile for this VOR approach. So now we need to think about VNAV, okay? Because VNAV will be helping us a lot to configure, to tell us when to configure the aircraft and as well to have a proper descent. So for sure, I will not descend before I'm a beam rock bow. I will not turn to rock bow before, because 3,000 feet, we are at 4,000 feet. So that's obvious. All right, so what we're gonna do in the FMC. If I go to cruise page again, I will make sure I have 4,000 feet right there. I have 4,000 feet now. You can see that right now on the vertical path deviation, if I will turn to rock bow, I will have to descend to meet rock bow at 3,000 feet. I'm already too high. So what we can do now is wait until we see that we are getting low, and then that will give us a good indication that we can turn direct to rock bow and fly that approach. So let's see how we can do that. Everything looks good here. We are passing rock bow. My vertical deviation is still showing me that I'm a bit high. And once we pass rock bow and we go outbound, that will revert. You can see it right now. And now the altitude will slightly decrease. So you can see now that I'm 200 feet too high. We're expecting now that indications to go on the other side, telling me that I'm actually low. That's what we expect. You can see that happening right now. And if at any time you have a doubt, you can always set again a new cruise altitude. If you go cruise and I set again 4,000 and execute that, now it forces the system to recompute everything for your descent. Okay, so let's see how we can do now. We are clear for the approach. You can see that I'm not bad with my vertical deviation right there. So ATC will tell us clear direct to rock bow and you are clear for the VOR approach. All right, so I will go leg direct to rock bow now. You can see the turn. I will execute the turn and I will arm LNAV. Now that LNAV is armed, what if I press VNAV? If I press VNAV and I see VNAV altitude, that is not very good. Remember, we are not going to descend in VNAV altitude. No way. So why is it VNAV alt while I'm on the track? Because VNAV needs to get clearance to descend. So what if I put now 3,000? Okay, I go, let's say, altitude hold, to have altitude hold. And now I will click VNAV again. Now, beautiful magic, we've got VNAV path. Very nice, isn't it? So now we have LNAV, VNAV path, we have a decel point right there. Everything looks good. So 3,000 feet, as you can see now on your chart, is where we are going to descend from Rockbow. One nice thing to do as well is go fix page, put Rockbow, and /2 miles. This is for configuration of the aircraft. This is something we like to do. I will show you that in a minute. All right, as you can see now, the aircraft has passed, will pass the decel point. So at the decel point, this is where we put some flaps. So very easy. We are flying VOR approach, so make sure you have VOR showing the distance, as all the distance checking is from the VOR here, right there, and not from there, from there. So we are inbound, so I will synchronize my heading, and now we pass decel, so we need to give some flaps. So let's go flaps 1. And the inbound is 266. Here we go, 266. All right, flaps 1, green light, perfect. I can go flaps 5. Now the bug will go to flaps 5. Now these 2 miles that I show you there, it's a very good hint. When you reach your 2 miles from top of descent there, a couple of actions to be done. I'll show you that right now. We are 2 miles. I hit my circle. I will set my minima, 500 feet, so that the aircraft will not level off. I will go gear down. I will do my action. Arm the speed brake. And I will go flaps 15. Alright, so now we expect the bug to go to flaps 15. And on a non-precision approach, it's always good to be fully stabilized at final approach fix. So you see that with that technique, you are reaching the final approach fix. The only thing you need to do is go flaps 30, which I'm doing right now. My speed will go to the approach. The aircraft is passing 3,000 feet exactly at Rockbow. And now we are starting our final descent. We can just do the landing checklist. Engine start switches, continuous, speed brake, armed, landing gear, down, flaps, 30 green lights. So we are ready. And now if we have to do some check for the altitude, be careful to take the VOR distance. Okay, not from the distance from there, but from the VOR, which is on the bottom left of your map display. So if we do, for example, 9 miles 2430, that you can see on the screen right now, 9 miles 2430, you can see on that side here, 9 miles, and we should be 2430. So that looks quite good. So we can continue the approach. So if you are visual, doesn't really matter as long as you can see that you are correctly established. If you are in IMC, always check the step. So now the next step will be 8 miles, we should be 2110, so we can wait for 8 miles right here. Do not mistaken with that one. 8 miles from the VOR, 2110. So as you can see, the 737 is flying perfectly well. So we are good to continue. Now, once your missed approach, you are 300 feet or less of your missed approach altitude. So as you can see on that chart, it's 3,000 feet. Now I can set my missed approach altitude 3,000 feet. If I set it and I'm within 300 feet of the altitude, then the autopilot will capture the altitude and we will go in alt hold. That's something we don't want to do. All right, so now we are fully established. Everything looks good. And as you can see, it's easy to use the VNAV. We just need to remember to always set the reference altitude and the runway so that the VNAV knows what you want to do. So if everything is done perfectly well, you can trust VNAV and you can fly perfect approach using the FMC. So as you can see now, everything is running fine. I'm just going to land right there in Bremen. And then I will show you in the next video how to do RNP approach, that one here. You can see it on your screen. We will try to program that together. It will be from Rockbo again, but that's the RNP runway 27. So we will have to create a pilot waypoint at Rockbo a few miles away, and we will program the FMC so that we can fly an AirNav approach in Bremen. As this is always some question that I get in the forum, that how to prepare and fly AirNav approach using FSI Panel. So that's the next video. You have the link in the description below. All right, so let's do that landing, and then we will jump in the other video. And if you didn't subscribe to the channel, please do so. That will help me do more and more video for you. Thank you very much. All right, so now we are approaching a minimum. We are visual. So I'll take auto throttle off so I can practice a little bit. And I will take the autopilot off as well. When you do that, if you are doing a VOR approach and you pass minimum, sometimes your flight director will disappear. So the good thing to do is to recycle your flight director, turn them off, then turn them back on. So they will be armed should you go around. That's a good thing to do. Sometimes, most of the time, we do that on VOR approach. All right, let's concentrate on that landing. We are 2 and 2 on the PAPI. The speed is good. I'll try to do a good landing right there and see the report. $100 check, 3 red, we are over the runway, idle, all right, speed brake up, reversers normal, and now manual braking, auto brake disarm, and by 60 knots, you can retract your reversers, stow your reversers, and now we back it to the right. All right, just landed. Let's have a quick look at the landing report. All right, so not too bad. Touchdown rate 215 feet on the center line, and landing distance is 506 miles. So I'm quite happy with my landing. All right, let's do the after landing with FSI Panel. So again, here I'm using that opportunity to tell you that if you have hardware and you retract your flaps, sometimes FSI Panel will not detect that you're retracting one notch of flaps. So what I suggest you to do is to reuse F6 key. So I'm going to do it right now. As you can see, I will stop there. We have all the lights set, the APU is off, we have flaps to 30, we have the auto brake to 2. So now what I will do is just use my F6 key to retract one notch of flaps, and as you can see now my first officer is retracting the flaps, and we'll set the light for taxi. As turned off, the engine start switches to off, as turned off the probe heat, and we'll start the APU for me. So basically, if that doesn't work on your system, probably you are using a hardware or a program key to retract one notch of flaps, and FSI Panel doesn't detect it. So just hit F6 once and you should be fine. All right, that's the end of that video. I hope you liked it. And if you want to follow the next one, which is about AirNav approach RNP runway 27 in Bremen, we will use same airport. Just follow the link below, and I'm looking forward to see you. Any comments? I'm happy to answer your comments in the description below. Thanks a lot, and speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.